What's up, Gear Mortals? Trey Xavier here. It's that time of year again. Metal Mode! It's like Metal Christmas, and as is our tradition, we celebrate by rolling the dice. So in case you're new here, let me explain how this is gonna work. We're gonna write a song today, and we're gonna use the dice to decide our musical destiny. We're gonna roll the dice to decide a bunch of different stuff about how the song is gonna play out, like the song's tempo, the key, and then most importantly, which MIDI drum grooves we're gonna use out of Superior Drummer 3's groove library to create the actual drum parts for the song. So without further ado, let's get rolling. The first thing that we're gonna roll for is the tempo of the song. I'm gonna roll this 10-sided by 10, I don't really know what you call this. It has the 10s by 10s. And then a regular 10-sided dice. We're gonna roll this one twice and then this one once and add them together, and whatever we get, that's the tempo. So here we go. All right, we got a 70 and a 70, so 140 and then 147. All right, lock it in. Next up, I'm gonna roll this 12-sided die for the key of the song. We're gonna start where 1 is C, 2 is C sharp, and so on. Okay, so here we go. A 1, so we're gonna be in the key of C. Lock it in. Next, I'm gonna roll for which pack we're gonna be pulling each part of the song from. I have an 8-sided die because there's 8 different packs that we're pulling from. Let's start with the intro. Number 6, which is Metal Fusion. Starting out prog A. Verse 1, 3, power metal. That's a cool transition, I'm sure. Oh, next we've got 1, which is black metal pre-chorus. Chorus 1. 8, Library of the Extreme. Verse 2 is gonna be 4, which is Progressive Foundry, pre-chorus. 7, which is Metal Machinery. Wow, this is already so varied. Sometimes it's like too much of the same thing over and over again. 3 for chorus 2, which is power metal again. The bridge and/or solo, we'll see what happens, is also going to be Metal Machinery. That one's Nick Barker. Chorus 3 is going to be 4, which is Progressive Foundry. And then for the outro, we will be pulling from 6, which is Metal Fusion. Awesome. Intro and outro are both Metal Fusion. Perfect. So far, the dice have given us an extremely varied and interesting song structure. But it wouldn't be 2020 if it wasn't full of surprises. So it's time to introduce a new twist. And that is that we're going to randomize the articulation for each part as it's played in Easy Bass. In case you were unaware, Toontrack launched Easy Bass this year, and it's one of my very favorite things. I used it in a bunch of videos this year, and one of the coolest things about Easy Bass is that each of the basses is sampled with a pick, fingerstyle, and also slap and pop. So I'm gonna randomize the articulation that we'll use for each part of the song. I'm gonna roll this 4-sided die to pick the articulation that we're gonna be using, even though there are only 3 that we're picking from. If I roll a 4, I'm just gonna roll again. So 1 is gonna be pick, 2 is fingerstyle, 3, slap and pop. Starting with the intro, here we go. All right, we got a 2 for the intro. That's gonna be fingerstyle. That sounds appropriate. Verse 1, 3, continuing on the fingerstyle, pre-chorus 1, 3, slap and pop. Guess we'll find out if that's cool or not. Chorus, slap and pop, slapping through the chorus. Then we got a 2 for verse 2. Pre-chorus number 2 is gonna be slap and pop. Chorus 2, also slap and pop. The bridge / solo is gonna be fingerstyle. Chorus 3, fingerstyle. Outro, slap and pop. Cool, so it's all fingerstyle and slap and pop for this song. Sounds good to me. Next up, I'm gonna roll for the individual grooves for each part of the song. I'm gonna be rolling a 4 and a 10 to get somewhere between 0 and 49, because it's rare that there's more than 50 grooves per part. So we're gonna be starting with the intro, which is one from Metal Fusion. So we're gonna head over to the intros. All the drum sounds you're hearing today are from the Superior Drummer 3 core library. And right now I'm using the Ludmeyer preset from Mark Lewis because I love his productions. These drums sound tight. All right, here we go. So for our intro, we're doing number 31 on the list. 31. Here we go. Here's our intro. Yeah. Cool, I'm feeling it. So then we just drop that right into our song. I'm gonna hit the little star here so it adds it to my favorites folder. Next we have verse 1, which is gonna be 3 from power metal. So let's get to the power metal folder. And then do the verses. And then we're gonna roll for which one? 1, 1, 11, 10, and then 1. Go ahead and drop that bad boy in there. So that sounds pretty sick. I'm gonna have it go twice just so that it's long enough for a whole verse worth of material. Next up, we've got our pre-chorus, which is also gonna be from power metal. 24. Cool. I actually think I probably am gonna want it to be half that long, just because I don't think a pre-chorus has to be all that long, you know? Chorus 1 is from Library of the Extreme. So we're gonna probably have blast beats during our first chorus. That's a hell of a start. The way that the Library of the Extreme is organized is a little bit different from these other ones. It's not by song part, because it's Dirk Verbeuren, who's endlessly creative and has all of the blast beats you could ever possibly imagine. So I'm actually gonna roll the hundo for this one, the dual tens, 70. Dirk, you beautiful man. So now we need our second verse. It's gonna be from the Progressive Foundry, so let's roll those bad boys. We're gonna have a 21. Long sad alone in a boggy marsh, demonetized. Our second pre-chorus is coming from Metal Machinery, 21. Chorus 2, we're back to power metal, 26. Now the most important part of the song, the bridge. And once again, we're in Metal Machinery, 13. Oh yeah. For the final chorus, we're choosing from the Progressive Foundry, 32. Interesting. Then the outro, which is coming from Metal Fusion, 12. Well, that's one way to end a song. This might be a loop and fade kind of a situation. I think that might work pretty good for this kind of a groove. So now we have our song form laid out at this tempo with this many parts. It's 2.5 minutes. Perfect. Now it's time to write some guitar parts. So the first thing we've got is the intro. Let's hear what it sounds like. So that's calling for some chug along, what I like to call it, when you just chug along with the kick drum. I think that'll work pretty nicely. And as the dice dictated, we're starting in the key of C. Normally this would be D, but I'm tuned down a whole step. I'm gonna be using my current favorite Easy Mix guitar tone, which is the Addictive patch from the Andy Sneap bundle, and it sounds pretty sick. For right now, I'm gonna have to sort of take it a measure at a time, I think. Lucky for me, that pattern repeats on the kick drum every time. And then I think next I'm going to impose some kind of a chord progression to this rhythm so it's not just all chugging on this same C note. Yeah, that's pretty sick. Okay, so we've got our first part. Now let's turn it into bass with Easy Bass. This is one of my favorite fun things to do because it's weird magic. I'm gonna use the audio tracker to turn this guitar part into a bass part. All right, and here's what pops out. Cool, sounds pretty good to me, and because the dice dictated that it would be fingerstyle here in the articulations, we have it as fingerstyle, and we're just gonna go ahead and drag it in here, drop it on the track, and boom. Let's see if we can't spice this part up just a smidge. Got a couple ideas. Just a little something, something. There it is. And I'll do that for the rest of the chords. So that gives us Cool, just a little bit of flair in the second half of that thing happening. Next up is the verse. Really makes me want to do something that doesn't follow the kick drum for this part. Something that kind of crosses the kick drum. I think it's cool to like catch some of exactly what the drums are doing and then have some of it float over it, so they like sometimes meet up and are doing exactly the same thing, but sometimes they're doing complementary things. That's cool. I think what I've got going for the verse here is really good, but I think it's kind of too much right away, so I'm gonna do something that I like to call creation by deletion, where I actually just kind of cut stuff out of the riff that's kind of too busy and put a lot of space into it, so that then the second time that it happens with the full version and everything, then it's like it's grown from the first time. So I think this could go, that too. Actually, I want this to be also gone the first time. It feels like it needs something though. And then this time we're gonna add an octave up. Okay, now I'm gonna add a second chord after this first one to give it a little bit of something, a little bit of lift into the pre-chorus. Cool. So for this pre-chorus, I'm gonna try and harken back to the intro so that we've got some continuity going on. And then blast beats. I've now put in the bass line for the pre-chorus, and it sounds pretty awesome as slap bass. A lot of people don't like slap bass in metal, but I personally think it can be really aggressive, actually more aggressive sounding than playing with a pick sometimes. Evan Brewer is a great example of this. If you listen to the Entheos records that he played on and Animosity and stuff like that, it sounds amazing sometimes, especially if you put a lot of distortion on it. It's not gonna sound like the Seinfeld theme in context like this. Yeah, like that sounds heavy as shit to me. I was a little bit apprehensive when I decided to include the possibility of slap bass in this, but I think it gives it a completely new textural element, and it really works for this part. So I need to match the brutality of these drums for the chorus, because if I don't, it's just gonna sound lame. But man alive, is that fast. I think I'm gonna try and use the chord progression from the intro to really keep that thread of continuity going, but now we're sort of in a different key. This last part has sort of dropped us into the key of G minor. So I'm gonna use the same chord progression, but in G minor, so like that kind of a thing. Something like that. Yeah, I think that'll do. That gives us something real meaty for the chorus. I'm gonna add a second guitar part to the second half of the chorus to really kick it up a notch, sort of a counterpointy type of thing. Something like that. So now I'm gonna try just copy pasting what we have so far on the next part of the song. I feel like once you've gotten to the point in the song where you have the verse and the chorus, you have all the material that you need to create the rest of the song, especially if it's sort of a basic format like we're using here, where it's intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro, you know, something pretty straightforward like that. There isn't a whole lot more that you need, and even with a bridge, which is gonna be different from what we've got, we don't want it to stray too far from what we've already got. So I start by copy pasting, even though it's a little lame, because we're just gonna take what we've got here and build off of it. Okay, so I've copy pasted. Let's see how well the copy pasta holds up. Some of the drum grooves are pretty drastically different, so it may or may not work, but there's only one way to find out. So far, so good. Yeah. Halftime version of the same thing, pre-chorus from before. Right here it kind of falls apart because we've got a problem with triplets against regular eighth notes. So what I'll do is sort of a straightforward version of the same thing without the triplet feel, and then I think it'll line up pretty well, and then we'll have this cool variation on the chorus. And then I think I'll sort of open it up for the second half and make it less palm mutey to give it a bit more intensity. Then I'm going to turn this sort of counterpoint thing that we had before into a more sustained lead type of a deal, like this. That'll do. At long last, we have come to the bridge, and I've decided to double it up because what I had in there just one time through didn't seem like enough. It feels like it should be wide open at this point. I'm gonna try doing the same chords as the chorus, but have them go twice as long and see how that works. And then some kind of a twist at the end here. I gotta figure out what that's gonna be. Something that'll take us into that final chorus in a really dramatic fashion. Oh, that's gotta be it. I really want to spice up this bridge a bit, so I'm going to try kind of a fancy move. This year, Toontrack put out a new easy keys library called Hybrid Harp, and it has all kinds of wild sounds, and it's basically like a combination of a harmonium and a nickel harpa and an ocarina and like a bunch of other random stuff, and it just sounds really cool. It's really unique, atmospheric sounds. So I pulled up this sound that sounds pretty cool by itself. But I'm gonna fancy it up a little bit and add some continuity into the song by giving it a rhythm that we've heard already, which is gonna be the rhythm from the intro, but I'm gonna do it in kind of a roundabout way, and here's how. So I'm gonna play the chords for the bridge here. Tweak those a little bit here and there until I've got all of the chords for the bridge. Then what we're gonna do is turn it into an audio track. However you're gonna do that in your DAW is up to you. I'm gonna use Pro Tools to commit the track, and I'm gonna mute the original. And then I'm gonna go in and manually edit this into the rhythm that we heard in the beginning. Which is going to be quite a process, very painstaking. I won't make you watch, but just the first little bit here. So here's what that sounds like. Then we're gonna add an easy mix, lo-fi filter on it. A little bit of reverb. Then we've got that rhythm back from the beginning that's kind of been going throughout the whole thing. Then I'm gonna kind of blend it into taste, so it's not like, you know, super upfront, but it gives it a little bit of forward momentum, and it gives us back that rhythm that we had from the beginning, and that helps us to create a continuous thread throughout the whole song because we keep coming back to this rhythm. It's our motif. So the groove that we've got for the outro here is groovy as advertised. And actually, the kick drum rhythm is pretty close to our rhythm. It probably came from the same family. But what I want to happen is to play that rhythm again, play that funky rhythm, white boy, but slightly different from how we had it in the intro, and basically just loop and fade. So I'm gonna yoink the kick drum part from this intro bit, and I'm gonna swap it out with the one that we've got, but I'm gonna leave the hands the same. Cool, so by this method, we've created kind of a hybrid groove of what we had, and that really is gonna tie the whole thing together. So now we have basically a skeleton of a song. Now I have to go in, really actually track it, tweak all the little things to make it sound like a complete song, add a couple little bits here and there, and then hand it off to our guest vocalist, who I'm sure you have already surmised who it is from the title and the thumbnail. At this exact moment, I don't actually know which one of the ones we've got lined up is gonna be on this song, so it's gonna be a surprise to me. But either way, you're gonna get to hear the final product right now. Let's do it!
Love is
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Happy Metal Month. I love doing these kinds of videos so much. So thank you to Toontrack for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much to our guest vocalist. And as always, if you haven't already, mash that subscribe button, smack the bell to join the notification squad. Drop me a like and leave a comment in the comment section below, letting me know who you think should be on the next one of these. I want to know, and I'll see you real soon.